Very quickly, college has become essentially an extension of high school. It used to be a place of higher learning, of scholarly people, and it's essentially become where everybody goes. It's just another 4 years of high school. Is that really worth it? Like, do you need another 4 years of high school to really succeed in life? You know, it really depends on your situation, and that's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to dive into, should you go to college? Is it worth it? If you're in high school, make sure you pay attention to this video. If you have somebody that you know who's in high school or early college, make sure you share it with them. I am Brian Mullins, and let's get started. So is college a good investment? Is college good for you? Well, I really think you should look at it as an investment. Look at, one, how much is your degree going to cost? Luckily today, tuition has slowed down a lot. It's not really increasing a ton from what I've seen, and hopefully it stays that way for quite a while, because it did increase a lot when I was in school. So look at how much it's going to cost. And then second, I want you to look at how much money you're going to make when you graduate. How much does a new graduate with that degree make? And then third, I want you to look at how many jobs there are out there. If there's, you may make really good money if you're one in a million. Like, let's use Michael Phelps, for example. Michael Phelps, not really college, but similar. He spent a lot of time learning to be a really good swimmer. And he has made a lot of money off of it, and he is the world's best swimmer. So, but what's the chance? What's the chance of you becoming Michael Phelps? You could go swim all day long. You may never be Michael Phelps because you're not Michael Phelps. It's a 1 in a million chance. It's the same thing whenever we're looking at your college degree. You may have a passion for something, but do you realistically, do you have a chance of being that 1 in a million to make really good money at your career that you're going to go into? Sometimes your passion may be better as a hobby. There's nothing wrong with having, a love for art. But if you go get a degree in that, are you realistically going to be able to make enough money off of that to justify the spend and the time that you put into that college degree? So really think about that before you ever even start. And it may be that passion becomes a hobby, and then you get another job or get a different degree, or maybe trade school, and that's your job, and then you have your hobby. When we talk about college, we always have to talk about the alternative, and that's trade schools. Are trade schools a great investment? Yes. I live in Oklahoma. We have some of the best trade schools in the country. Our trade schools are amazing. They train you up in whatever you need. And they're usually free. Around here, they're free, and in most of the country, they're gonna be free. So you can go to trade school, learn a great trade, be out quickly, and then start a career. It may not be as glorious as going to school and acting all scholarly in college, but you can make really good money. I can tell you as a real estate owner, I own several rent houses, we are quickly running out of tradesmen. I have a hard time finding HVAC people, electricians, plumbers. They're all booked out for months at a time. It's crazy. You would, honestly, from what I can see, you would probably make more money if you went into a trade and actually worked at it, at least in the short term, than you would go into college. And then you can take that money and then you can do whatever you want. Invest it right, watch some of their videos, invest that money right, and then you can turn maybe your passion, maybe what you really want to do, turn your passion into a business and then run with that. But make the money from trade school. So don't forget about trade school. It is a really good option for people, especially if you want to get started quickly and not have to fight and pay the high tuition. This may seem controversial, especially right now, but pay cash if you can when going to school. We'll talk about loans here in a second, but I want you to pay cash if at all possible. Yes, tuition's expensive. It's not as expensive as you think, especially if you're not going into some prestigious school with some really high fees. So pay cash if you can. How do you do this? Well, start off at community colleges. You don't need to go to the prestigious school. If you do go to the prestigious school, that's fine, but no one cares where you took your 2 years of basics. Take them at a community college. You'll save a ton of money. They're all really good, and they usually know they're gonna feed into a larger school. So be ready for that and go to the community college, save yourself some money. 2, go to the regional universities. There's nothing wrong with them. You don't need to go to the big prestigious school with a big price tag. Who cares? Go to the regional universities. That's where I went. It's a way cheaper, and a lot of times the accreditation is the same. So for me, coming from business, it's AACSB is the main accreditation in business school. Well, here, the prestigious school in town and the regional school both have the same accreditation. So why do I care? It's gonna look the same at the end of the day when I go to apply for somebody. So save yourself some money. You don't need to go to the big name schools unless, they give you a scholarship and then it ends up being cheaper or the same price. Sure, go for it. But if it's not, just go to the regional school, save yourself some money. Also, work all through school. You don't need to, be living off of student loans. You can pay for everything yourself. Go get a job. I was working 30 hours a week. I could have easily worked 40 hours a week and kept a full class load. Would have been easy? No, but it's okay because I would have walked out without paying a dime in student loan interest, which is what you really want to do. So if you can, work 30, 40 hours a week. Maybe you have to cut back your coursework. Maybe you're not taking a full 15 hours. Maybe you're taking 9 or 12. That is okay. There's nothing wrong with that. It may take you 5, 6 years to get through school, but I guarantee you, you will be a lot happier than the guy who went through in 4 years and comes out with $100,000 in debt because he didn't work and he lived entirely off of student loans. So don't take out student loans unless you really have to. Pay cash, do everything you can to pay cash for everything. The student loans are not free money. They will want their money back. If you do take out a loan, it needs to be for a good reason. The only reason you should take out a loan is if you know you can make the money back. It needs to be a high-paying, high-demand job. Look at it as if you're a bank, because the student loans come from the government and they give it out to anybody and they just write checks and then they will eventually want their money back. But if you're a banker, would you invest $50,000 to $100,000 in the business of you to go to school and do whatever degree you're looking for? If the answer is no, then why would you borrow money? Because you're the one taking on that liability. So don't take on that liability. If you're going to school, there's a few examples of stuff that I think are actually really logical for taking on debt. Doctors, RNs, dentists. One of the interesting ones is mortuary school. Stuff like that. There is always going to be demand for that. That's not going away. Mortuary school is really interesting because most people don't want to do it. But if you go through school and do that, you can find a really good job. You can end up owning your own funeral home. It's not glorious, but you will make a lot of money off of it. And so it makes logical sense to take out a loan. So always look at it as if it is a business, and is it worth that business taking on that debt? If it's not, don't take on the debt. If you want to go to school for basket weaving, please don't, because you're not going to make any money at the end of the day. So my final point is to really consider what college is. College is essentially delaying your life for 4 years. Is it worth you delaying your life for 4 years? Because I promise you, college is not the rest of your life. At least I hope it's not. The rest of your life starts after you're done with college. So is it worth delaying your life for 4 years to go do a career? Sometimes yes, sometimes no, but you need to make serious consideration of that. Every dollar you make today, because when you're in college, you're not going to be making much money, at least not much that you're keeping. You're probably going to be pouring it all into tuition or living expenses if someone's paying your tuition. But every dollar you make today and are able to save is worth so much more in the future. And doing 4 years of college is going to delay you putting that money into the future so you can retire sooner. The other thing to remember is kids. A lot of people don't want to have kids now, but if you want to have kids, you shouldn't have kids when you're in school. And the older you get, the less time you're going to have with your kids and your grandkids. So like for me, I was almost 30 when I had my kid. The truth is, I probably won't see my grandkids graduate high school. If I do, I'll be really old. But if I had had kids when I was 20, I probably would. I'd be old, but not really old. So take that into consideration. How much do you want to see your grandkids? How much do you want to see that? That may seem way off. I know that seems crazy. I thought about this though when I was going to college. I was like, okay, is it worth me waiting 4 years before I really start my life? Because this will delay me really getting to see my kids and grandkids. So keep that in mind. Know that you are delaying your life 4 years and make sure it's worth it. This is literally like playing the game of life. You remember the board game where you got the little spinny thing that you spin, and then you have the little car, you put the little pegs in, and you have so many kids they don't fit in there anymore. This is literally like playing the game of life. You get to choose college path or career path. And if you remember from the game, sometimes people who went to college don't make as much money as people who chose the career path, and sometimes vice versa. So it's really important for you to consider, is college the right avenue for you? Are you going to make enough money? What's your return on it? What type of life do you want to have? Do you want to have kids? All of that is something you need to be thinking about. If you're in your late teens, you need to be thinking about this. You're almost there. If you're already in college, I hope you've already thought about it. If not, think about it now. Here's my assignment for you if you're thinking about going to college, or maybe you're relatively new in college. I want you to write down 3 or 4 career paths that you could go down, 3 or 4 degrees that that would make sense. And so look at those, and then I want you to look and see how much money you're going to make in your first year. I don't want you to look at, 20 years down the road, I'll make all this money. I want you to look at how much money you're going to make in that first year. And then I want you to say, okay, my tuition cost is this, my income is this, how many years is it going to take for me to make back what I spent in tuition? If it's more than a couple years, you don't need to go down that path. You're not going to make enough money to justify it. So let me give you the example of my numbers. So when I went to school, my undergraduate degree cost a little over $20,000. My graduate degree cost a little over $20,000. Granted, 2 years versus 4 years, twice as expensive, but still, I spent all in a little under $50,000, or my parents did. So when I graduated from my master's program, my job I got paid just shy of $50,000. So I made back all that money in tuition in a year. That's a good investment. So is it a good investment for you? Well, if it's taking more than a couple years, it's not a good investment. If it's taking, 3, 4, 5 years, you really need to be considering it. If it's over 5 years, you don't need to be going down that path at all. Really, you should be at 1 or 2. So think about this. Make sure you know what these numbers are, because this will help you determine if this is the right path to go down. If you picked out of those 3 or 4 and you want to do any one of those, then go with the one with the quickest payback. That's the easy way to pick it out. So if you've enjoyed this video, take a second to like, subscribe, share, and comment below. We would love to hear what you have to say. We would love to hear how this has helped you and what type of career path you're looking for. Or if you have a question, feel free to let us know. We'll be happy to reply to you. So I am Brian Mullins, and I hope that you have a good day.